What's up guys, Cloudie here, checking in from the America server, and today we're gonna be looking at Jane after her balance patch in March, which if you wanted to sum it up in a TLDR version, then she is back, but not really with a vengeance, has gotten better, but still not really what we were hoping for from a magic tank. She kind of still seems to be in this weird situation where she is a knight, but a lot of her skills are and perks are about dealing damage, which isn't really the main profile of a tank. So she kind of ends up being a PvP kind of stuff, and still somewhat lackluster in PvE. But let's see what she can do, what they have changed, and how this looks like. So her skills, Funeral Rites is her S1. You can see the skill description. This is almost Aisha levels of Zed, where it's like 2 lines. It's a 2 mana 8-second cooldown skill. What they changed here is that this used to be 3-second cooldown, and the skill book 4 was increasing it by 2 seconds. They baked the 2 seconds into the baseline skill, and she got some more damage out of it. More damage from a tank. Again, you can see it doesn't really do that much of a difference for a tank to be doing more damage. So yeah, this is a pretty boring skill. With a perk, she can add some magic amp from it. Mark of Death, the second skill. Now this one has received an interesting change. So this one gives a 25% increased magic damage debuff on everything it hits, and it's a 1 mana skill for 6 seconds cooldown. So this is pretty much up all the times. It lasts for 30 seconds, so it's very hard to drop if you consider the effects. Now what they added is that there is an effect increases by 20% upon every use, and this can stack up to 5 times. Now if you read this fast, then you will think, holy cow, this goes up to 125%, and that's so awesome. Except it doesn't work like that. The 20% upon use increase is a 20% of the base 25%, which is 5%. So each time you use this and the first cost doesn't count, you get a 5% increase total. So after 6 costs, this will be doing 50% extra magic damage. So it's not 125, it's 50. I have tested this with a Jane on a dummy, and you could see that as the damage goes up, you can see that it exactly goes up to 50% increase in your damage if you have no other buffs on the target. So yeah, that's pretty consistent. The wording is weird, so you will think that this is a massive buff, but it isn't. It's just 50. So it doubles actually the original 25%, but it's still a 50% buff. So it's like alright-ish, but not really that super big. The good news here is that this is a self buff, so this effect increase is going on Jane herself. Although there is no icon for it, you can't see it, but it will still reactivate at the maximum number, even if you somehow let this drop, or you've found a new target. So which is alright, that's alright. And again, you can see all the perks are about increased damage. Again, this is a knight. The knight doesn't need to do increased damage. You will never notice a knight dealing damage except in PvP. Right, let's check Day of Ruin, her skill 3, which is dealing damage to everyone, heals HP, inflicts stun on the enemies with a 10% chance, and for the duration of the skill gains immunity to CC. Against marked targets, she deals increased damage. What does this make you think about? Yes, this makes you think about the skill set of a DPS and not a tank. What they really did here is that the Transcendence perk was baked into the skill, and this was about adding the stun. Also now this no longer has a range limit, so once she casts this, she will be doing AoE damage. But yeah, it's like again a DPS skill that doesn't really do too much for your team. Mana point is recovered, so that's the final part of it. And then we go to her Rest in Peace skill, which is the new part of it, that it increases magic defense of all allies. Well, 10k is not bad, it's also not great. And then when she takes fatal damage, she enters her coffin, heals herself. Inside the coffin, she doesn't get affected by attack speed effects. and ignores all defense, all damage, and deals magic damage, sorry, to nearby enemies, and then the heal rate is increased. So it's kind of a tank who, but the good thing about it is that if she dies, she comes back once throw. This can be useful in PvE as well when your healer's messed up, but it's again mostly a PvP kind of thing. So yeah, so her base skills are quite boring, to be honest. The perks makes it a little bit better, so let's look at the perks. So Day of Funeral Rise has an extra perk which will give it a 25% increased magic damage buff. So together with her S2 at maximum stacks, she has now 75% magic damage increase, which is not too bad. It's not really the Lowman and Shockme type of buff amounts. So yeah, we could be a bit salty here, but yeah, it's something. The other perk is that in exchange for 1 additional mana cost, the skill has a 100% chance to draw the target in. So she can like draw in people with this and collect them for some AoE damage. Again, this is more of a PvP thing than anything. Mark of Depth, so her S2 reduces the duration to 10 seconds instead of 30, but the damage is boosted. So kind of again a DPS skill on a tank. Yes, if you are building a DPS Jane for arena, then this would be kind of useful to you. Otherwise, not so much. The other option that the mark itself cannot be dispelled. Now again, PvE fights rarely have cleanses on them. Some do, but mostly they do not. And this is mostly a PvP thing again. So yeah. And then we have Day of Ruin, again a damage increase perk on a tank once again, and then there is Day of Ruin Dark, which unused dispels negative effects of all allies. So this can be an AoE cleanse for your party, but you can see Day of Ruin is a 3 mana skill with a 12-second cooldown, so you will not be able to counter, say, a Dark Lord Castle with this, because you will never have 3 mana to cast in the first place. But it can be useful in some situations to have that. And they have also changed the S4 perks. Upon activation, dispels positive effects of all enemies. So I think this one was new. Yeah, this is the new one. And then the other part is that upon activation stuns all enemies for 2 seconds. So this was the classic coffin Jane, where you would run a naked Jane in PvP and she would get auto hit to death and then stun everyone, and in that 2-second stun you would kill them. Kind of a lame tactic. Well, again, this is having a perk that activates when you die is kind of counterproductive. It works for cheese strategies, but it's not really that good. And then there is her tier 5 Dark, which means each of her attacks will increase her attack and recovery rate by 1%, going up all the way to 50%. Now again, attack increase on a tank is kinda not so useful, especially because she doesn't have any kind of scaling with attack. She doesn't give a part of her attack to your DPS or increases their defense. There is nothing that scares off of her attack. It's a kind of weird skill. Like, her entire skill set is actually, if she was meant to be a bruiser type of DPS, but somehow she isn't. So yeah, in PvE that's kind of sad. Let's check her unique gears. We have some changes there. One thing, then, this is really the biggest thing about her, is that they added a non-hero damage that is going to your highest attacker based on her unique weapon. If you check this out, then of course someone has to kill the guild raid boss right now. So we get like an attack debuff on the enemies, which is quite nice. That's all right. And then there is an extra non-hero damage for 15%, and this cannot be removed. So 15% non-hero damage is not bad, but you do need a 5-star unique weapon for this to actually function. Again, but that 35 attack down, that's very strong. I think that's the strongest attack down debuff in the game. Lorraine has like 25, and then mechanic perks have like 15 or so. So 35% is a lot. That's nothing to be to scoff at. But the rest of her kit is kind of lackluster, if you ask me. Let's check her unique treasures. Day of Ruin, so her S3 damage, again, damage is increased by 20%, and this is the part that scales. So you get more damage out of a tank. It's like, oh god. But the target's magic defense is reduced by 5% for 5 seconds, and this can be stacked to 10 times. So, alright, okay. So 50% damage reduction, that's kind of nice, except that a lot of enemies or bosses nowadays are immune to defense shred effects, and that's why penetration and ignore defense heroes are just that strong. So this is alright, but not terribly great. And again, the scaling of it is, why would you want extra damage on your tank? So Jane is nice, but not in PvE. Her UT1 Funeral Rites reduces the target CC resist and M block. Again, a PvP skill. This is the Rest in Peace. Upon activation, dispels negative effects from all allies and reduces damage dealt on self by 10%. So again, something you get when you die, a PvP cheese strategy, not really something you would be looking forward to have in PvE. And then we can also have a look at her other unique treasure, which I don't have, so let's go to the item index. So unique treasure index Knight, and it should be, which one was it? It was a UT2, wasn't it? I'm not quite sure. I will find it super fast. It's this one. Increases attack and crit damage by a certain number when this marked enemy dies, and this can stack up to 8 times. Again, a damage increasing effect, not really useful in PvE, and yeah, PvP I guess it could be good. I don't think you will see massive damage. I mean, you can see like decent damage. We have like clear challenge raid bosses with Jane DPS, but it's still a meme kind of thing. It's not really something you will be doing too much in PvE, at least not in scoring content or wherever it would matter. You can meme around with it, but it's just not really that interesting to have. Alright, and then finally let's have a quick look at her soul weapon, for which we need to find her again. So they have done a little bit of a change here as well. They added an effect that increases magic damage all enemies take by 10% for 5 seconds, and this is stacking up to 5 times. So it's a 50% amp. Together with her S1 perk and her S2, this is like getting there. She's reaching over 100% amp. The problem is that this is lasting very short, and this is from a hero that you it has a short duration, and it's for a hero that you will usually have in your auto team, because again, she doesn't really offer anything else that would take the spot of the main heroes that you usually have in your manual team, like Veronica, Oddi, Priscilla. Jane doesn't really take over any of those skills that those characters provide. As such, she will be on the auto team, so the entire usage of her soul weapon is kind of like up to luck, especially because the charging up is related to the amount of damage she does, so the amount of hits she does. She now needs 80 hits, so it's not about herself getting hit, but she doing the damage. This was also changed, and then with advancement phase 1 this is decreased to 60, and then at advancement phase 2 she gets a 20% increase per stack, so this is 100% magic damage increase at A2. That's not bad. And then of course on top of that she gets the 50% from S2 and 25 from S1. So at A2 with the right perk and maximum stacks, she does provide a decent amount of amplification, and from the unique weapon also a decent amount of non-hero damage, which is quite nice. Don't get me wrong, that's nice, but the rest of her kit is just still so weird with this damage focus. So I would say Jane is back, but not with a vengeance. Essentially, she is more useful now. The attack down, if you can invest in her, then that attack down is really good. The non-hero damage is really good, and if you can somehow get her an A2 soul weapon, then she can have a lot of magic amp, and she can also cleanse now. So technically, you could put her into, for instance, a Valkazar comp, but it's gonna be hard to squeeze her in with better options, with options needed, like again Veronica, Oddie, Lavril, Estelle, Fallen Frey. So the spots are limited, and I think her kit still doesn't really warrant her spot, especially if we are thinking duo teams unlike Valkazar. But again, also world bosses, I'm not quite sure which teams would be able to utilize her, because Magic has been not running any tanks for some time now, and she cannot really take over the role of Priscilla, in my opinion, and you still need Oddie and all the other support. So yeah, this is my take on Jhin post the March buffs or balance adjustments. She is stronger, she is more useful, but her kit is still kind of limited. Can be used in PvP, faster DPS, and both a tank. Like, she can cleanse and dispel now, which is kind of okay, but the use is a bit clunky. You can't really rely on a 3 mana cleanse, because you will never live to actually have that 3 mana against a team that is built to block you from having mana. And the whole rest in peace mechanic where she just needs to die is a bit cheesy. It's the same as using Bow, basically. And there are, of course, the Coffin Jhin Bow teams too, but let's not talk about that. So yeah, that's the final take on it, really, guys. She's better, she's back, but not with a vengeance. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them below. And this has been Cloudie for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.